Hi everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the thing that we are all to some degree going through, a lot of us, and that is a major, major ego death. I am going through my own ego death, and let me tell you, it's definitely been interesting. I want to talk about this. I mean, I know there's so much information on ego deaths. What is the ego? Where is this going? What are we doing here? And what's going on with us? Everyone's going to experience it differently, but generally speaking, an ego death is when you are, I'm being given the words, no longer you. So the person, the identity that you believed you were will basically be no longer. There is a massive collapse going on. This is happening. Whether we'd like to be aware of it, even be aware of it through the mind, and even have some kind of understanding of it. A lot of us maybe are not understanding it, right? But there is an ego death that is happening from this collapse for all of us. If it's not now, it will be coming very, very soon for you. And everyone is going to go through it in their own way, okay? Because it all depends on what your soul has chosen. I mean, specifically with mine, it's chosen a pretty big one. And I know that's because of the service that I've come here to do, which will come, whilst I'm doing the work that I'm doing, which is all the time apparently, but also afterwards, it's kind of both. It's for the rest of my life. This is kind of what my soul decided, and therefore it had to go through this massive ascension like I've been going through. And part of that ascension is really an ego death, yes, of some sort. So, ego death is deleting the who and what you believe you are. So, what does that mean? What we believe we have been for a long time, for many lifetimes, all our lifetimes basically, has been a certain conditioned person. Now, again, through our mind, we may not even understand what that conditioned person is, but the conditioned person is basically robotic, matrixed way, matrix conditioning, which is when you're told to do something, you do it. When you are given the information from the outside of you, whatever that is, you are then being controlled in some way, right? Conditioned in some way, trained in some way to be a certain person. So this person could be someone who's scared and therefore they give. Someone who doesn't know how to put boundaries in place because as you were growing up, you witnessed, maybe you were part of abuse, you witnessed abuse, and you had to find a way to survive through your childhood, right? And then that became the person you are maybe now. So this is a formed conditioning that you chose, again, on a soul level to go through in order to wake up now. So for all these lifetimes that we've lived, we have just repeated this conditioning, right? And every lifetime brings in a certain pattern that very much gets repeated in different lifetimes. And in this lifetime that we're living in, we are now deleting these patterns. So therefore, we are clearing all our karmas from all our past lives. Now, when I was told this, honestly, the human part of me just went straight to, yeah, but that can't be possible, right? Because how can anyone clear all their karmas, all their past life karmas, all their patterns, delete it all in this lifetime? I mean, my human went into, well, therefore I'm just going to burst open, right? I'm no longer going to have this body because in my human conditioned mind, I believed there was no such thing. Now, going through this experience myself, and it's quite a severe one. Like I said, for me, I have learned that, my gosh, our bodies are extremely intelligent, and it knows exactly what to do. I did mention in another video, one of my guides that I call into when it comes to bodily, emotional work is the Arcturian guides. And they taught me so well that your body is so built to do this. So this is my ego death that I'm talking about, but you will experience it in your own way. I just want to give an example of this, I guess, this particular thing that I'm trying to explain when it comes to this part of this ego death that I've gone through, just in case you are experiencing any bodily emotions rise up within you. And sometimes because we have been so, again, conditioned, disconnected from being in our bodies and with our feelings and, being able to process our emotions consciously, we haven't learned that in life, right? In many of our past lives. But just to explain this example might help you understand how our bodies are so capable. So I've had many ego deaths. I know I have. There's been quite a fair few. This particular one was a particularly difficult one that I'm still going through, but the beginning part of it was very extreme. And I'll give you an example. So in this, there was this time where I think I was lying down and I could feel, I remember before this started, I remember I said out an intention. It was a very specific intention that I put out. Now, I do notice that whenever I put out an intention, it comes straight away. So be careful what you're putting out there, but it's all for the positive. Anyway, when I put this intention out, and it was a really strong, powerful, like knowing intention, and it was all decided. Wherever I wanted to go with it, it was just all decided at the time. I didn't even know it was coming. It just came out. This intention came out, and it was all for the positive, timelines that we were on. And as soon as I did that, no joke, my body went through one of the strangest experiences. I've had some stranger experiences than this before, but one of the most strangest experiences I've ever had. So energetically, first of all, nothing was happening, right? So if someone came in that room, they wouldn't see anything. But energetically, all I could say was that my body was it was like this energy was like swirling around me, and it was just releasing this thing that I just asked for. So what was happening was my body felt like I just went from this, I guess, more egoic state of being and being really with this thing that I believed I knew, to this absolute nothingness that I became, all in a space of a few hours. So I could feel this massive release energetically that was going on within my body. Like it came and then it just went. And as it went, and the whole time, and it took a while, the whole time I remember I was crying, and I brought my Arcturian guides in, and I said, what is going on? What's going on with my body? And they kept on saying, just trust, your body knows what to do. It's just a release that's going on. It's your karmic release. It needs to happen through your body. So honestly, all I could say was, as soon as that, after it happened and the release happened, and it was all these emotions that I was going through at the time, that I don't know what's going on with me, but okay, let's just go with it. Everything just went blank, and I literally was lying in bed, so still, not being able to move whatsoever. I couldn't move my hands. I couldn't move any part of my body. And not just that, but I couldn't talk. I just had no voice. Like I physically could not talk whatsoever. It was such a strange experience. And then I remember what happened was, somehow I slept, because I remember I couldn't move. So I just had to sleep. And it was pretty early on, but I slept quite early because my whole body could not move. The next day, I assumed I was fine. What the hell was that? But I'm going to be fine, right? The next day, it felt like I just went through some kind of surgery, and I couldn't move again my body whatsoever. It felt like I just needed to rest. I tried to walk. I went outside to walk for a bit, came back early because, again, I just wasn't feeling, what my humanness would say as normal, right? But what was going on was I literally went into complete surrender, complete being, complete nothingness, which is really the all actually we are. So this is one of my experiences that I've had as an ego death. There's been many others. But the reason why I want to explain that is, when it comes to an ego death, especially now during ascension, you're going to feel things within your body. Your senses are opening up, and you are going to feel it all. Emotions rise up, feelings rise up, things that you may not understand, things that you don't want to know. I've been there where I've just almost hid away and gone, no, I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. But it has to come up. What's actually happening is these parts of you that have somehow served you all your life and many lives, right? This egoic part of you where it's been basically survival, because ego is the same as survival, you could say. That's a good way of describing it to some degree. Because of this egoic survival, what's happening is these parts of you that survived for all this time are coming up, and it's saying to you, hey, you know that thing that you believed has worked for you all this time, where it's going to have to go now. And by the way, you know that path that you thought you were on, and you had this image, this vision of this thing you wanted to do, well, guess what? That actually was not your soul path. That was your mind that wanted it. And now you're going to have to turn around, and can you see that door over there? You're going to have to go through that door and see what's behind it. And all your ego wants to do is, run, absolutely not. This is the way, this is what I know. And it doesn't want to know, right? Because it's so well conditioned to be in this survival mode. And that's all that's going on. When we are having an ego death, what's happening is that we keep wanting to grab things around us all the time. So when something isn't working, then we go to something else because, oh, that's not working. I still need this thing, so I'm going to try it this way on. And then that doesn't work. And then you go to something else and you're like, hold on. Why are all these blocks? Why are there so many blocks around me? Why can't I do this simple thing? That could be part of an ego death that's happening for you. So when we're having an ego death, we get more and more desperate to hold on to things. So one of the other things that I noticed in my ego death was that I just wanted to talk to my friends all the time. I wanted to call my friends and go, oh my gosh, I'm going through this thing, and please, almost like, can you be there for me? You know, this reliance of having someone there to help you, right? Now, this particular ego death that we are going through, what we're going to find more and more is that we are going to be asked to be self-reliant. I have had to learn this big time in my life. So remember, we have come here with certain patterns. Now, and one of the main things we're doing is actually clearing all these patterns. Now, one of my patterns has been reliance and going into self-dependence, self-reliance, however you want to say it, because I have, one of my patterns was this unworthiness where I believed that my worth is based on how someone treats me, and therefore a lot of controlling behaviors happened there. So as I'm deleting this, what's happening is that I'm actually being asked to go into the freedom path. And the freedom path is, can you just be all that you are in every single way and depend on yourself only, and not see anything outside of you as you relying on it, because there's nothing essentially outside of you. You are the only person. You have come here as your one being, soul self, and that is the mission that you are on and will always be doing from now on. This is one of the things that everyone is learning. Okay, so if you find in this ego death, you are being asked to, or you're noticing blocks, you're noticing things that's happening in your life where you are being pushed away, rejected, you feel abandoned, or anything else, anything like that, is because one of the things that we're being asked to do in this ascension is to be completely self-reliant. Okay, remember that. So it is not because you're doing anything wrong. It's not because you're not worthy or anything like that. It is just because you are clearing your karmas from all your past lives to be in this ascension. And this ascension is asking you to basically be like Mother Earth. Okay, Mother Earth holds itself, and this is what we're all coming to. So ego death, just to repeat, is mainly about survival, getting what you want, not being able to do that anymore. And because what you actually want on a heart and soul level is very different to that. So your path might change. You may be pushed to something else. I mean, in the future, we are going to be living with people that we may not be living with right now. That's kind of how many people are going to be going. You might be moving to a certain place, right? You're going to be living amongst people that might be different to where you are now. So in order for that massive change to happen, an ego death is really, really important. So wherever you are right now, you have to trust the process. It is all part of it. And the way I learned, the best way to get through an ego death is to come back to yourself every time. It is so important. Connect to yourself, connect to your inner wisdom, inner self, within your inner heart, right? All this, lean back into your soul self and just let your soul do what it needs to do, what it's already decided to do. It's very important we do this. The more we are within our hearts, within ourselves, the more we trust ourselves, the more we trust the path, the more we know where this is going, because your heart is your guide. So you must let that happen as it's meant to. I will say, going through this, I have found there has been a beautiful, beautiful, amazing reward at the end of this. Really beautiful. For me, the reward has been self-care, self-love, self-nourishment. And the only other way I can say it is the feminine within us rising, which would feel like peace, serenity, freedom, love. Like all this stuff is just almost making me cry. It is the best feeling in the world when you are just being, and you just come to, that's where we're all going to. We're just going to learn how to just be when there is no push, no force, nothing telling us what to do, not being anything that we're not, and just being. It is the best feeling in the world. Whenever I get to this stage, and in this ego death, you're going to find you're going to come in and out of it, because the energies around us as well is changing. So we're all affected by the energies around us. But in this thing, when you get to it more and more, and you get to that surrender and that peace and that love, complete unconditional love, oh my gosh, the mother energy, it is the best feeling in the world. So now that I've experienced this more and more, what I've learned is, and I ask my guys for help, is whenever I get to the stage of any kind of, life brings so much force, right? So much force and so much mind conditioning. And the energy to me just feels awful. I know it's not right. It's not the right energy. So whenever I get into these modes, I ask for my guides to help me get back to that surrender mode. And it comes straight away. When you get into that, you realize that we are the ones that have power to create our reality. If you know how this feeling is within yourself, within your heart, you can bring yourself to that every time. And again, believe you me, at the end of this ego death is a beautiful, beautiful reward where it's just pure light, pure love, and nothing else but just being who and what you are.